I'm not even gonna lie to you. I am someone who says what everyone else is thinking or talking about, not just with the refs,
Did you post
but
that
with
after
Detroit,
after you guys lost?
with Cleveland. I want people to hear what I just said. I am the only one, but if you ask our league, they feel the same exact way.
The league feels the same way about the refs as you?
And Detroit and
Oh.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
And
Do
so
you want
now,
to give it one more shot?
no, because
Okay.
I said what I had to say.
You go off.
And I'm not going to apologize because I fully believe that. Don't tell me that Detroit is more fun than that.
This was the exact kind of fight Caitlin Clark's fans had been waiting for her squad to show. And with Sophie Cunningham, they got way more than they bargained for. Because Sophie didn't just ride for Caitlin, she turned into every fan's megaphone and the league's biggest headache. See, as the 2025 season heated up, Sophie's patience with the league's games ran out completely. Every hard foul on Caitlin that got brushed off, every cheap shot the refs acted blind to, every fine the league slapped her with. None of it shut Sophie up. Instead, she went harder, calling out referees, checking the media, putting ex-teammates on blast, and even taking direct shots at the league itself. Nobody was safe from her smoke. And here's what should have the WNBA shaking. This was just the start. Sophie's rise wasn't just about protecting Clark. It was about exposing cracks in the system, and every bold move made fans love her even more. This breakdown shows how Sophie went from being Caitlin's enforcer to the league's biggest nightmare. Fearless, ruthless, and straight-up entertaining. But first, smash that like button and drop your favorite Sophie moment in the comments. Because what Sophie promised when she joined the Fever? That fiery energy? It wasn't just real. It was exactly what this team had been starving for. Sophie wasn't just a shield against the nonstop cheap shots thrown at Caitlin Clark. She brought something way deeper. Fans spotted it instantly. Real loyalty to Caitlin, the kind that can't be faked. And in the WNBA, that kind of loyalty was rare. Think about it. The media kept downplaying Caitlin's impact. Refs swallowed their whistles while she got hammered on the court, and even Nike stalled on giving her the shine she earned. So when Sophie finally spoke up and said what everybody else was too scared to admit, Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA. She's changing everything. That shook the league. That raw honesty instantly made Sophie public enemy number 1 factorial. It didn't take long before players decided to test her toughness. In the preseason, we got the first taste of Savage Sophie. When Mystics rookie Kiki Finn dropped her to the floor, Sophie popped right back up and basically snapped, "Don't you ever try that again?" That moment wasn't just a clapback, it was a warning shot. But here's the kicker. That was only a teaser for what the season had in store. Because if rookies were already fearless enough to go at Sophie, what chance did Caitlin have against the non-stop targeting? It was officially open season on the Fever, and Sophie's job became crystal clear. Game after game, the refs kept their whistles buried, and Sophie had to step in where the league refused. Caitlin was getting hammered non-stop with no whistles, while other players got away with everything. It felt like 2024 all over again. And finally, Sophie hit her breaking point. June 17th, Commissioner's Cup, Fever versus Connecticut Sun. The officials just let chaos take over. First, J.C. Sheldon raked at Caitlin's eyes. Then Marina Mabrey dropped her with a body shot that looked straight out of a wrestling match. Still, no calls, no protection, no accountability. And that's when Sophie Cunningham completely snapped. What she did next instantly turned her into a legend for Caitlin Clark fans everywhere. For Caitlin's supporters, it was sweet payback at last. After months of watching their star get hacked with zero help, Sophie finally served up the retribution. She clamped down with a headlock, delivered a shove, and threw out a cold dare. "Do something!" That moment was more than just fire. It was a full switch flip. From then on, Sophie wasn't just fiery, she was untouchable, locked in with nothing to lose. And it didn't stop when the buzzer sounded. At practice, at media sessions, even after the game, reporters pushed her about the scuffle. And Sophie made it crystal clear this wasn't about one play or even one game. This was bigger, way bigger. She had been watching Caitlin's mistreatment from a distance. And now that she was in the trenches with her, Sophie wasn't holding back for anyone. Now, Sophie wasn't just watching Caitlyn's mistreatment from the sidelines. She was living it in real time, and she'd finally had enough. That single moment cemented Sophie Cunningham as a household name. She became the one who actually stepped up and defended Caitlin Clark, and what followed was the purest example of the Caitlin Clark effect the league has ever seen. Fans wrapped their arms around Sophie instantly. Her jersey sold out in minutes, her socials exploded with millions of new followers, and she leaned right into the spotlight. She even dropped a TikTok using a Selena Gomez track, a sly nod to the JC Sheldon takedown, and it blew up mega viral. Her comments were overflowing with one loud message: "Thank you for standing up for Caitlyn." It was a multi-million-dollar moment overnight. Sophie went from being a role player to one of the hottest, most marketable names in the WNBA. But with the love came just as much hate. Media outlets tore her apart for retaliating against JC Sheldon, while conveniently staying silent on Marina Mabrey's body shot and Sheldon's swipe at Caitlyn's face. The double standard was insane. It didn't stop there either. A petition even surfaced online, calling for Sophie to be banned from the league for unsportsmanlike conduct.
You're talking about like our first week, what people had to say. Well, the WNBA fined me for
No! You got fined for episode 1?
Dude, they fined me $1,500. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is just the beginning. I was like, you're kidding.
Oh, way.
I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. I did say that, and I said that I would
No,
not
you
be
did.
good at it. I
Yeah, you
did
did.
say that. Like, look at the whole picture. What are we doing?
And then came the fine from the WNBA, a cold $400 slap that made headlines everywhere. Suddenly, Sophie was staring at a crossroads. She could have stayed quiet, let the storm pass, and slipped back into being just another scrappy role player. But if you know Sophie, you know that was never gonna happen. But staying quiet? That was never Sophie's style. From that moment forward, every soundbite got sharper, every highlight clip nastier, every word bolder and more unapologetic. This wasn't just Sophie Cunningham hooping anymore. This was Sophie declaring war, and that's exactly when she became the WNBA's worst nightmare. Just 5 days after the JC Sheldon clash, Sophie pulled up pregame rocking a Barstool Sports Tress Leach's shirt, with her, Caitlyn, and Lexi Hull plastered on the front. It was a loud signal of loyalty, standing shoulder to shoulder with Caitlyn, and it drove certain corners of the league wild with rage. Tres Leches, meaning 3 milks, was spun as a not-so-subtle reference to the Fever's 3 white stars. Sophie knew exactly how the shirt would hit, and she wore it anyway, smirking the whole time. And she wasn't close to done. On July 1st, she doubled down, taking direct aim at the WNBA itself, blasting its expansion plans. Suddenly, cities like Detroit and Cleveland went into a frenzy, while critics piled on from every direction, media voices, angry fans, even insiders within the league. For a second, Sophie tried to walk it back, saying people twisted her words out of context. But here's the truth. When you're staring down a mob, backing down only makes you look weak. So Sophie flipped it. She leaned in even harder, saying the quiet part out loud, that everyone agreed with her. They were just too scared to admit it. That became her trademark. Sophie as the fearless mouthpiece, spitting what others only whispered. And of course, it didn't take long before the fines started raining down. July 18th, Sophie turned TikTok into her personal stage. She dropped a lip sync to a Sabrina Carpenter track, not so subtly clowning the refs as stupid and useless. The video blew past 1 million views in just hours. Fans ate it up. But you know who didn't? The WNBA. They slapped her with a $500 fine, and honestly, that number was a joke. See, for most WNBA players, $500 is a solid chunk of their paycheck. But for Sophie, with endorsements pouring in left and right, it was pocket change. People were even joking that Caitlyn probably covered it for her with the $11 million she raked in back in 2024. Instead of shutting Sophie up, the fine only gave her more fuel, because less than 2 weeks later, on July 30th, she cranked the volume all the way up, launching her brand new podcast, Show Me Something. And from the jump, she wasn't pulling any punches. This wasn't just a podcast, it was a weapon. Her own stage to say everything the league didn't want out there. From the first episode, it was crystal clear. Nobody was safe. Sophie came straight for the WNBA, calling out the abuse, the hypocrisy, and the silence that had been hanging over the game for way too long. Sophie didn't hold back. She said it straight up. All the chippiness, the cheap shots, the constant abuse on the court, it was 100% because of Caitlin Clark. And she didn't stop there. Sophie torched the refs too, saying that in that Sun game, they completely lost control and that Marina Mabrey should have been tossed on the spot. But then came the real bombshell. Sophie didn't just blast the players, she turned her flamethrower on the media, the owners, and anyone in the league who dared to disrespect Caitlin Clark. Nobody was safe from her smoke. And when it came to the refs, Sophie doubled down, going on a direct, targeted attack that basically dared the league to fine her again. And sure enough, on August 5th, the hammer dropped. Another fine, this time $1,500. But just like she promised, that fine meant nothing. Instead of backing down, Sophie ramped it up even more. In that same podcast episode, she went at her former teammate and mentor, DeWanna Bonner, calling out the messy way she left Indiana just 2 days before the Fever were set to face Bonner in Phoenix. What was said behind those closed doors before that Fever-Mercury matchup? Nobody knows for sure. But what happened next made one thing crystal clear. Sophie wasn't done, not even close. Phoenix did not take kindly to Sophie's shots, and her message back to them was simple, sharp, and direct. You're dead to me. But instead of cooling off, Sophie went full savage mode, breaking one of the WNBA's unspoken rules. On her August 13th podcast, she came straight for the refs, torching them over the white glove treatment of Paige Buchers. Sophie ripped into the officials, saying Paige was getting outrageous superstar calls from the moment she stepped on the floor. No sugarcoating, no dancing around it. She flat out said it and absolutely shredded them for it. Fans knew exactly what she was talking about because they'd been seeing it too. The double standard was glaring. Caitlin, the true face of the league, was still getting hacked with no protection deep into year 2, while Paige, a rookie, was being treated like royalty from day 1.
During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
The trees and things happen. And Kiki Iriafen right there, they had an extra little shove. And she's just like, what I do. Well, we kind of grow up. And then Sophie Cunningham pops right up and has a lot to say.
Just the competitor that I am. I'm fierce, I'm sassy. I stick up for my teammates, stick up for myself. And so sometimes I think that's okay to be feisty.
The kind of respect Caitlin should have had from the start was being handed to Paige instead. And Sophie was the only one bold enough to call it out in public. And just like clockwork, the league responded the only way it ever does when Sophie lights them up, by slapping her with yet another fine. Now, Sophie's sidelined for the rest of the season with an MCL injury. That means no more on-court fireworks in 2025. But what she already did, what she lived, what she fought through, built something bigger than the game itself. Sophie became the blueprint for how the WNBA should have handled Caitlin Clark all along. She recognized Caitlin's value, celebrated it, and stood up for her every single time. With Clark's popularity already exploding past the walls of the league, and with a fan base that's been mocked, doubted, and called every name in the book, Sophie instantly won them over. She became their bullhorn, saying out loud the frustrations fans had been screaming into the void, that the league doesn't protect its biggest star. That's why Sophie's platform stands apart. It's for women's basketball, but it's not about protecting the WNBA's image. Her whole mission is to challenge it. The leadership, the refs, even the players who tried to take advantage. And here's the kicker, it's only going to get louder. Because the fines, they mean nothing to her. Every time the league tries to punish Sophie, She just cranks it up and hits back harder. And that's their ultimate nightmare. A charismatic player fans actually love, defending Caitlin Clark without fear and dragging the league into the spotlight on her own terms. And the truth is, the WNBA created this storm. And until they finally start protecting their biggest draw, Sophie's gonna keep calling them out. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Drop a trophy in the comments to show love, hit like, smash subscribe, share this video, and turn on those notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.